You're watching BCTV. We're all about Branford. You're watching BCTV, Branford Government Television, a service of Branford Community Television. This program is brought to you in part through the support of the town of Branford.
Representative Ray Ingraham, Representative Tracy Everson, and Representative Frank Toohill.
Hello.
Excuse me if I'm missing anybody else down below. Representative Carolyn Sires, I see, and Representative Donna Leach. Anybody else? I just see first names, not sure if you are a representative or not. And of course, our town clerk, Miss Lisa Arpin. Welcome, everybody. So,
Representative Huey?
Yes, sir.
Representative Ingraham, just as part of our rules that I am the host this evening. So anyone that any instructions for muting anyone or asking someone to leave the meeting will come from you. I'm just hitting the buttons.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Also, I just wanted to mention something else, Mr. Chairman, that at this time, right, what's going on is this meeting is being taped by BCTV, Branford Community Television. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Representative Toohill.
You're welcome, sir.
This is Town Clerk Arpin. Just as a reminder, we're a little rusty on Zoom meetings, but anybody that's speaking for the purpose of the recording, as well as the folks that are on by phone, please, if you're speaking, identify yourself. Thank you.
Okay, so Representative Healy speaking at this point. We're going on to number 2, first to be here. To receive communications with respect to and consider and act upon a resolution entitled Resolution Authorization and Appropriation of $1.1 million for the Fleet Fueling Station project and the financing of said appropriation by the issuance of general obligation bonds of the town and notes in anticipation of such bonds in an amount not to exceed the 1.1 million therefore. I will entertain a motion to not have to read the full resolution.
Mr. Chairman, this Representative Black, so moved.
This is Representative Conklin, second that.
Excellent. Thank you very much, gentlemen. At this point, I'll entertain a motion to pass this resolution.
You have to vote on your resolution.
Wow.
You're not reading.
Thank you very much. All right. All in favor, please say aye.
Can we have any comments?
Waiving the reading.
Wait, can we have any comments, please?
We're going to get us. Okay. Representative Erlanger, do you have a comment on waiving the resolution being fully read?
No, I do not. I'm fine with that. Thank you.
Because I could sit here and read it to us if you like. Okay. All in favor of waiving reading the full resolution, please say aye.
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 This Representative Black, I think we're supposed to take a roll call vote on all these. Lisa, is that correct? When we're doing
That is correct.
I was going to do that if I heard any abstentions or anybody who said no to it. So, okay.
While I'm speaking, Lisa Arpin again, for the record, Jim has arrived to the meeting at 7:02. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so back to the vote on the reading of the full resolution? Representative Black, how do you vote on waiving reading the full resolution?
Representative Healy, Representative Black votes in favor of waiving the full reading of the resolution.
Thank you, sir. Representative Conklin.
Representative Conklin also votes to waive the reading.
Thank you, Representative Conklin. Representative Erlanger.
Representative Erlanger votes in favor of waiving the reading of the resolution.
Thank you, Representative Erlanger. Representative Barron.
Yes to waiving the reading.
Thank you. And I also vote yes. So 5-0 that passes. We can waive the reading. Now, if we can have a motion on the floor to accept.
Mr. Chairman, this is Representative Black. For purposes of discussion, I move that we approve the resolution as presented.
And this is Representative Conklin, and I second that.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Is there any discussion to be further had on this movement?
Is there any, Chairman Healy, this Representative Black, is there any discussion from Finance Director Finch or Town Engineer Hopperl regarding this? It's a fairly major project here. Thank you.
Sure. This is Jim Finch, Finance Director. These two projects were part of the town's capital improvement plan. And, you know, I understand that, you know, when the Board of Finance and the RTM typically approve the budget, most of their focus is on those projects which are being done as a pay-as-you-go basis, in which tax dollars will be raised as part of the mill rate. But in the plan, we do identify projects that by source, whether they're grants, other or debt. And this project, along with the project related to the bridges at the supply pond, were both identified in the capital plan. And so typically what we do is to try to come back with debt authorizations and bond authorizations. And the authorization, among other things, does two things. One is it provides the authority to spend money. And then two, it provides for a financing mechanism, which could be borrowing bonds or notes. It doesn't mean that at the end of the day or at some point in time that we wouldn't fund it another way. An example of that would have been the Indian Neck Firehouse, which some of you who are on the RTM may recall. Ultimately, we did not bond that. We financed that with a combination of a steep grant and appropriation from the general fund. So that is always an option. But again, you won't have the option to bond it if you don't approve the resolution. So I would encourage you to approve it.
Mr. Chairman, Representative Black again. Just, you know, I understand that the funding mechanism, I mean, when we pass the budget, we pass the appropriation, and this is a separate appropriation. So while the Board of Finance looks at the capital plan, the RTM does not vote on a capital plan per se. So this is really our first look at the appropriation. So perhaps the town engineer understands the scope of the project. I mean, I really have fewer questions about the bridge because that's been falling down as long as I've been in town, and that's a long time. But, you know, how does this interplay with our other fueling stations in the police department, renovation, et cetera?
Yeah, this is John Heffley, town engineer. So as Jim stated, we did kind of briefly run through all these projects during the budget process, but as he also stated, you guys have, you know, your focus may be on other things. We're one department in town. So I do appreciate you guys doing this via Zoom. I know it's been a long time for these meetings, but so this project is to really replace the other underground fuel tank that we have in town at the police station. That underground tank has been in the ground for almost 30 years. So in 2025, it will not be certifiable anymore without extensive monitoring. So that's actually, I believe the last underground fuel tank that we have in town. Not counting Board of Ed, they've got a couple more as well. But so this would be again taking out the underground fuel tank at PD in its entirety ahead of that hopeful project. This would be a dual fuel type tank, so it would have gasoline in one compartment and diesel fuel in another. We would have diesel exhaust fluid available. We'd have I'm not sure if anyone's ever used the tank at PD, but right now we have like a little key that we stick into the basically a system that keeps track of how much fuel each department is using or each car is using. Well, the same kind of thing. So it gives the authorization to whoever that user is, which is set up by an administrator, presumably in the fire department, as it'll be located at the headquarters. And you could set anything, any of the settings. You could say you can have diesel, you can't. You're only allowed to have this many gallons per week if you really want to get into the finer control over things. But again, this will be an above ground fuel tank for the entire fleet, minus DPW has their own above ground fuel tank. And the wastewater treatment plant also has their own above ground fuel tank. So this will be available for them during storms, snowstorms, storm cleanup, things like that. So they would be able to use it. They would be users of the system, but it's primarily for, police, town hall, counseling, those, really the fleet as well as the fire department. So one thing to note that the fire chief had brought up to me at a certain point in this process was they travel a lot of miles fueling their apparatus over at DPW. So this will cut down on a lot of mileage on their apparatus. So they're quite happy to be hosting this above ground tank at their site. So other than that, there would be a canopy to protect the employees in foul weather and monitored 24/7 by camera systems, got all the safety mechanisms that would be required of a real, gas station, like a commercial gas station. Other than that, if there's any questions, happy to try to answer them for you. Oh, we do have all the permits in place as far as local permits. We've got inland wetlands and planning and zoning permits in place. So we have made one final review of the bid documents, and we expect that we would have those back maybe in a couple of weeks. We're pretty much ready to go out to bid. So kind of the purpose of having this special meeting. So I do again thank you all for hosting this one.
Well, thank you both, Jim and John, for the information and presentation. At this point, again, asking any other committee members for any questions that they have to follow up on.
Hi, this is Representative Erlanger. I have a question really for Jim. So I remember this coming up in the capital budget. I think it's a great idea, and I think it's a necessary project to happen. I guess I've read everything, Jim, that and I've listened to what you've said, and I've read your response to Representative Everson. But I have just another question to ask you. So I was appointed to the RTM 5 years ago, and I failed to go back and see what the general fund was then, but we were somewhere in the, I believe, low to mid 20s, 20 million, and now we're at almost 43 million. And I just really want to understand why this project, as well as the other one we're speaking of, which is $2.25 million, I understand that you may not need to do a bond. The appropriation may not need bonding, but why are we even considering bonding when we have the funds in our undesignated balance, why are we even considering bonding a project as small as $1.1 million and $2.25 million when we have the breadth to do that with taxpayer money that's already accounted for? Thank you.
Okay, well, there's a lot to unpack there, and that's a very fair question. So, assuming, of course, that the Board of Finance agrees with the bonding resolution, which they did, so I won't speak for them because they've already voted on this, and I'm not deflecting the decision to the Board of Finance because, as you know, it comes from my recommendations. Some of the things that we were looking at, that we've been looking at, as you know, there's a lot of potential projects that are out there. You're on the Coastal Vulnerability Group. I think you were aware that I think Paul Muniz and Peter Henschel had talked to the folks at the wastewater treatment plant. That can be a considerable project, and we were hoping to get some grant dollars for that. So far, we haven't gotten any. Also, some of the things that we're looking at with the Inflation Reduction Act is that there might be an opportunity in looking at the Branford High School window and roof project to do something under the IRA, and it's the Inflation Reduction Act, which is very premature. One of the advantages of paying cash for that type of project is that you get a better reimbursement rate through the IRA if it's not funded with tax-exempt debt. So that's kind of in the back of our minds. And for a number of years, one of the things that we've been eyeing is the police pension fund unfunded liability, which, depending on what interest rate you use to discount that liability, has a variety of ranges on that. And we're also looking at a project there, especially given the fact that rates are higher now. And so, there might be a thought of actually paying down that liability. And then in that scenario, you would get a benefit of about 6.5%, which is the return on asset assumption versus, the cost of borrowing, which right now would be basically about 4% for the town. The town is actually earning more on its investments currently than they would be paying in interest. That's the present situation. Over the last couple of years, we were fairly conservative in a couple of those years. You may remember that we had lowered our tax collection rate because we weren't sure if the folks would be able to pay at that rate during the COVID years. Some of our state grants have been coming in higher than what they historically have. And recently, one of the benefits that we've been enjoying, again, is the higher interest rates. Surprisingly, nationally, though, I was at the New England conference in Maine this past September, and on a national level, not Connecticut, the share of fund balance as a share of general fund expenditures is close to 50% in municipalities and counties. Now, having said that, that's really just sort of a point of reference. And it hasn't been our goal to get it that high. And we also realize that it provides us with a unique opportunity to kind of structure our financing a little bit differently, because we have cash to cover projects without necessarily having to fund them right away. That gives us a lot of flexibility in terms of structuring our debt. If you look at kind of what's on the horizon, some of the school folks, although they haven't done a facility study, they're looking at doing one. I'm not aware of any facility studies that come back and say, well, we don't have to, our facilities are fine, we don't have to put any money into them. So, while that's not something I'm addressing immediately, I know that's on the horizon. I think I mentioned the treatment plants. You got the roof and window project at the school. Construction costs seem to be escalating. You could be looking at easily probably 14 million for the police station. I'm sure there are folks in the community who would like to see our open space go from about 27% of our land mass to a higher number. It's not my role to say whether that's a good idea or not. I mean, generally, I think I've been supportive of those efforts. And so when those deals come up, typically folks, want to make sure that the town acts on that. So it really gives us a lot of flexibility, and and it is taxpayers' money, as you're correct. I mean, we're using it for taxpayer projects, but again, we can, or one can, I should say. I think in other communities, if they walked into Branford's government, they would probably basically do tax cuts, get elected forever, and then realize that, now what will we do? I know an area selectman was talking at a COG meeting recently, and they barely maintained their AAA rating, and pointed out that spending down fund balance to keep taxes down is actually a bad thing. I mean, which we kind of already knew. So I mean, I guess I've been talking a lot, so I'll stop and see if you have a follow-up.
So Jim, I appreciate what you said. I'd like a little clarification on one thing. And I'm not saying we're going to spend down our fund balance to where we were, 5 years ago. I see these as kind of smaller item projects, both of the projects that are on the table tonight. But how do you make a determination? I mean, yes, we knew the police department's coming. We know some of these big projects are coming, and a lot of times these really heavy duty projects will get bonded. Clearly $14 million. If we end up doing the athletic field and it's, $6-7 million, that's probably going to also be fodder for bonding. That's a hefty expense. But again, I just go back to why is the determination not to spend down the fund balance for small projects and bond the bigger ones? Where does that determination actually come in, so we can make a reasonable decision tonight on saying, yes, it's okay to bond these, not knowing what you may end up deciding to do?
Well, all things aside, not your decision as to how it gets financed.
Understood.
That you typically leave that, any legislative body generally leaves that up to the administration. That's more of an executive function.
That's understood, Jim.
Thank you. And I think there's a lot of things that go into it. I think with the first thing, what we would have to define, because we're using the terms on a relative basis, is small projects, large projects, right? I would probably lean towards projects over $1 million as being large projects. Typically, things that we've taken out of fund balance. And, if I go back to the March Board of Finance agendas over a series of years, you'll see that some projects get taken out of the request and then get funded out of fund balance to avoid basically taxing for those. And those are typically projects that are less than $1 million. The $650,000 appropriation for the school security, which I'm sure everyone on this body is familiar with because of the amount of discussion it generated, that was under $1 million, and that was kind of deemed a project that we would basically fund without bonding. I guess when you're in the $1 million range, you're probably on the cusp of small, large project, Linda. But there is not a hard and fast rule. So, but generally, projects that are over $1 million, we would basically look to initiate a bond authorization. And having said that, there have been projects that like the firehouse at Indian Neck, where we decided then to use cash for it. But I would underscore again that there is a lot of things coming down the road, and which makes sort of a lot of work for me trying to figure out all the buckets, figure out all the players, Board of Ed, town. Is there open space involved? Is there what grant program makes the most sense? What's available? How does that line up with our other liabilities? To use a private sector analogy, you're really talking about how do you allocate capital, essentially. And, but on the other hand, I think what it does present us opportunities is to have I would say a fair chance at this, a puncher's chance of accomplishing a lot. And I think all of the folks on this call certainly should be proud of that. And I know many of you are, and I'm not suggesting that you're not, but I think Branford, in terms of what it's been able to do over a number of years, it has a really good story to tell. And the fund balance is part of that. And I recognize that, we are getting at a point, but in the back of my mind, I'm also looking at things that are sort of getting discussed in town hall and projects that we're looking at, like the pension one, for example. That's a piece that we need to look at potentially. That has to be part of the discussion. What do we do with the medical self-insurance fund now that we've gone to the partnership? That's got to be part of the discussion. What do we do with assets that we have that we sell? Where are they going to go? Well, that's going to go to fund balance and then get appropriated out of fund balance for a capital project. We have a former central office in the center of town hall. I'm sorry, in the center of town. What is that worth? Where does that money go? The Canoe Brook, former Canoe Brook Senior Center, obviously less valuable, but what do we do with those proceeds? So I think the next couple of years are going to be very interesting years, and I think that what I would say to RTM leaders, and I'm sorry that you're not going to be part of the next 2 years. I don't believe. I think I missed you when you put some of your binders back, but I think that as whoever the leaders are on the RTM after the election, along with the administration, really, has an opportunity to figure out, well, where do we want to go as a community, and what sort of public projects do we want to pursue? And because we have a lot of tools that we can use, we still have about $1.6 million in unallocated ARPA dollars. There's other programs out there. There's like I said, assets to sell. There's fund balance. There's the town's bonding capacity. On the negatives, there's a lot. That is a lot to do, and you have a reval in fiscal 26, and depending on where the shifts are, and they usually shift to residential property because commercial and motor vehicles, and as I say, motor vehicles normally don't appreciate in value, but that's also a buffer where you're looking at fund balance. So there's a lot to unpack there. So fortunately, the meeting's recorded, so you don't have to take notes. You can just replay the tape. But hopefully, I've answered your question. If not, I'll try again.
No, I think it was helpful. Thank you. Appreciate that, Jim.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Jim. Any other questions from the committee members, please?
Chairman Healy, Representative Black, just through you to Finance Director Finch. These amounts of, $1 million, $2 million, you generally bundle them at once. You don't go to the market to borrow $1 million generally, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
So I mean, this is just gives you the option if you're going out for a major bond issue, you could combine these with the police department or something else.
Correct.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any questions from any other representatives in the audience tonight? Hearing none, we have a motion on the floor.
Chairman Healy, sorry.
Yeah.
Representative Everson, I do have a question. Jim, if I could ask, why do we need to do this now? Why couldn't we hold off and authorize this when we do the police station or something else? Why do we need to do this now?
Well, I think there's two perspectives on that. I think what John Hepperly was saying is that he's ready to go out to bid. He's ready to move forward. My thought, while I certainly appreciate that, is that it's trying to be consistent. So when John presented his budget and his budget backup materials, he presented information on the fueling station, and he also presented as a request the supply ponds. And so the Board of Finance basically said, okay, we'll put this in a capital plan, but we'll put it as debt. So they had heard the presentations, as did the RTM, on these projects. And as I said earlier, I think Peter's echoed this. Typically, more of the focus is on those projects that are actually being taxed for immediately. So my thinking, Tracy, was that, and as it has been in the past, is that, well, the elected folks that basically voted on the budget, of which, the capital plan, while not a hard, fast appropriation, is incorporated as part of the budget document, and being the same RTM that actually heard these requests, should basically kind of finish the cycle and vote on items that they've heard. There is no legal requirement for this to be done. It just was more of continuity. Like, so the folks that kind of started this trip end the trip, as opposed to, leaving it for the next RTM. But obviously, if you didn't act on it, then I think it would die with this RTM. And then I don't know, I'll defer to, the RTM experts, if that then has to go back to the Board of Finance again to be considered by the new RTM. I don't know, does everything start from zero at that point? I'll defer to other RTM members on that one. But so it was more of a matter of, from my perspective, continuity. And I think from John's, it's a matter of, timing. He's already got a commitment for the supply pond bridge, but he needs the other half, and he wants to do this, in anticipation of action on the police station, so that he's not trying to deal with this when they're looking at that project as well. So.
Okay, thank you.
So again, any other questions from any of the members tonight?
I have a quick question, Mr. Chairman. Now, I'm sure that you all, looked into this, but I just want to get confirmation about, grants. Were there any grants out there of, for this type of thing? Thank you.
This is John, the town engineer. No, Frank, I don't think there's any grants for these fueling facilities. But you'll hear on the next, the Supply Ponds Bridge, we were able to get a grant for that one.
Oh, that's great, John. That's terrific to hear. Okay, thanks very much.
Okay, any other questions? Hearing none, we have a motion on the floor to pass this that has been seconded. This again will be a roll call vote. So I'm going to ask Representative Black if you'll give your vote on this measure.
Representative Black votes yes to approve the bond authorization. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Conklin, can you give us your vote on this measure?
Representative Conklin votes yes.
Thank you, Representative Conklin. Representative Erlanger.
Representative Erlanger votes yes.
Thank you. And Representative Barron.
Yes.
Thank you as well. And I also vote yes. This now passes unanimously, 5-0. Moving on to number 3, to receive communications with respect to and consider and act upon a resolution entitled Resolution Authorizing an Appropriation of $2.25 million for the Supply Pond Bridge project and the financing of said appropriation by the issuance of general obligation bonds of the town and notes in anticipation of such bonds in an amount not to exceed the $2.25 million therefore. I again ask for a motion to waive the reading of the full resolution. Do I hear that, please?
Chairman Healing, this is Representative Black. I move that we waive the full reading of the resolution.
I will second, and this is Representative Erlanger, and I will second that.
Thank you, representatives. And we'll start with you then, Representative Erlanger. Your vote on that, on the waiving of the rule, the reading?
Yes.
Yes. Representative Black, your vote on the waiving of the
Representative
reading?
Black votes
We haven't had any
yes
time.
to
Yes.
waive the reading.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just to waive the reading, just waiving the reading right now. Thank you, Representative Black. Representative Conklin, do you vote on waiving the full reading of the resolution?
I vote yes to waive the reading. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Barron?
Yes to waiving the reading.
Thank you. And I also vote to waive the reading of the full resolution, though that passes 5-0. Now, in moving on to this, can we have any discussion maybe from our town engineer on this project, please?
Sure, John Heffley, town engineer. So this is, if you're familiar with the supply ponds, there's a bridge that bisects kind of the north and south pond. I believe the bridge was a WPA project. It's very old. It's not up to any kind of safety standards. It's narrow. So we did, in anticipation of applying for a state local bridge grant, which is a 50-50 grant program through the Department of Transportation. We hired a structural engineer to assess the bridge, which came back with a critical score and recommendation for replacement. So at that point, we did apply for the state local bridge and were awarded the grant for this particular bridge. No other work has been done yet. We're waiting, since the design fees are also eligible for that 50-50 and are included in the 2.25. Once we get the authorization, we'll contract with our engineer to get this design started.
Thank you, John. So to question this then, the 50-50 grant, does that leave us as the town members on the hook for the 1.125? Or are you saying that this whole project is $5 million?
That's John Heffler. That's right, 1.125. So it's 2.25 is the cost of the total project.
Is this a drawbridge, or does it come with a troll under it that I have to pay for ongoing fees? We are talking about that 10-foot long by maybe 8-foot, right? For 2.2 million.
Yep. Yeah, this is John. So the existing bridge is definitely not worth 2.25. But the new bridge will have to be built to DOT standards. So, it'll be a 2-lane bridge. We've asked for, and it should be included in this estimate, is kind of a boardwalk style sidewalk, since there's no pedestrian walkway across that bridge right now. We're looking to kind of cantilever something off that may give fishing opportunities as well. But surprisingly, that bridge, the depth of water at that bridge is 20 feet when we measure down. So it's a substantial reconstruction effort. Where they're going to have to coffer dam and pump things out and really get down there to build the foundation for a new bridge. So I think you're seeing a lot of the cost with that, as well as the design itself. structural engineers don't come cheap. If I wanted to make a lot of money, I would have become one, but you end up paying the fees for their expertise and the amount of liability they carry. So
Thank you. And Deep has been involved with this. How's this affecting the ponds themselves? Maybe the width, the dimension. I know we also put a lot of money into a project to slow down the sediment that could be coming down from that stream into those ponds. So is this going to have any effect that those ponds themselves start to wash into the neighboring areas as we do this?
This is John. So the typically what you see is they'll maybe drive sheets to dam off that section and kind of bypass pump to keep the water levels about the same, so that we're not seeing any kind of increase in water heights or anything like that in the surface elevations. But we'll certainly, I think we'll have to have DEP probably consult with them. I don't think we need permits through them. The permits will be local through our inland wetlands agency. But we will be impacting, so we have to widen it. We'll have some temporary and permanent, there'll be an effect to the inland wetlands. So we'll have to do some mitigation, but, we'll likely do something around the ponds themselves, whether it be, invasive species management or something like that to try to enhance, those, basically I think it's a 2-to-1 mitigation through inland wetlands. So.
Chairman Healy, this is Representative Black.
Yes, go ahead.
This bridge, I moved to town in 1964. I grew up near this. It's been falling down as long as I can remember, getting narrower and narrower. People do hang off of it fishing. So anyway, there's no doubt in my mind that this needs to be replaced. It probably should have been replaced. I know we drained the pond, a few decades ago. So I'll move that we approve this appropriation.
Thank you, Representative Black.
I'll second. This is Representative Conklin. I would second that.
Thank you, Representative Conklin. Do we have any questions from any other committee members, please?
Through you, Representative Healy, may I ask our town engineer one question? So, John, if the project ends up exceeding the planned $2.25 million, does the LoCIP money increase with that change? So let's just say the project ends up being like $2.8 million. Do they give us then 1.4? Or do they only give us what you've initially expecting the estimate to be?
Yeah, this is John. So I don't know if you were on the RTM at the time where the Harbor Street Bridge reconstruction project came up. This is just an engineer's estimate, very preliminary, right? They haven't looked at existing conditions yet. We haven't done any soil testing yet or anything like that to see what the actual design of the bridge is going to be. So DOT does respect that, and they understand that there may be a cost increase, or maybe there's a decrease, which would be nice, but probably not likely. But they do allow for a supplemental application. And with the Harbor Street Bridge, we did see that after we got some soil testing back, they had to change the design a little bit, tweak it, which added additional costs. So, we do have to go back to the DOT, and there's always a chance that they say, we can only fund up to this amount, but they do understand that, this is not a hard set number that is subject to change. They just want to be made aware as soon as we know, if there's going to be a cost increase through a supplemental application. So at that point, if we do exceed the 2.25, or say at bidding, the numbers come in higher than we expected. Again, we'd go through DOT for their blessing first, and then we'd have to come back to the Board of Finance RTM to get an increase in the appropriation.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions from any other committee members, please? Hearing none. Any questions from any other RTM members that are in present?
I have a question, Mr. Chairman. This is Representative Toohill.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Just wanted to get an estimate of the construction timetable, John, please.
This is John. We haven't gotten that point yet. We haven't even started preliminary design yet. So typically, we might take, maybe a year to get the design done. There's a public outreach component to this grant program. So, we'll have to have at least, one public meeting, or solicit some feedback. But I would say, you get DOT reviews and things like that, whether we can make this a 2025 construction project would be hopeful.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, John.
Okay, thank you very much, Representative Toohill. Any other questions from any other representatives in presence tonight? Hearing none, we have a motion on the floor that has been seconded to accept tonight's measure. We will do this also by roll call vote. Representative Black, can you give us your vote on this?
Representative Black votes to approve the bonding and spending authorization. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Representative Conklin.
Representative Conklin votes yes to approve the authorization.
Thank you very much, Representative Conklin. Representative Barron.
Yes to the approval.
Thank you, Judy. Representative Erlanger.
Yes to the approval.
Thank you very much. And I also vote yes. So this also passes our committee this evening, 5-0. Thank you very much. I will now take a motion for adjournment. Give us 10 minutes before our RTM meeting.
I'll move to adjourn. Representative Conklin.
I will second that. All in favor, say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? I'm hoping I do not have to ask everybody to read the resolution this evening. So thank you very much. We'll see everybody in about 10 minutes. Have a good evening.
Kevin.
This program was brought to you in part through the support of the Town of Branford. Watch town meetings and other videos on demand at BranfordTV.org.